Some women never leave your memory, even when they're gone. An old man sits quietly by the window. It's late in the afternoon. His hands are worn, trembling slightly as they hold a faded photograph. It's not a wedding photo. There's no white dress, no ring, no smiles frozen in ceremony, just a candid shot. She's laughing at something, eyes filled with light. And yet, she's the one image he never forgot. He speaks with a voice both cracked and calm. I once had a woman who truly saw me, not the version I tried to show the world, not the one with ambition or charm. She saw the man I was uncertain, unfinished, full of flaws. And when she needed me to grow up, to meet her where she already stood, I chose instead to shrink back into the comfort of my own pride. Most young men chase perfection. They look for the loudest, the prettiest, the most exciting. But a man who has tasted real loss begins to understand. The woman you marry is not always the one who takes your breath away at first sight. It's the one who makes you breathe easier every day you're with her. The one whose absence turns into an ache you carry for years. You don't recognize her through grand gesture. You recognize her in the stillness, in the way she listens, in the way she never makes you feel like less, even when you're not at your best. And the truth is, a woman like that doesn't demand you change. She quietly inspires you to become someone who no longer wants to stay the same. She makes you want to grow up without saying a word. There's a difference between someone who tells you to change and someone who lives in a way that makes you want to catch up. The first uses words, rules, ultimatums. The second doesn't say a thing. She just walks with quiet purpose. And suddenly, your excuses begin to sound hollow, even to yourself. You spend the evening on your phone, scrolling endlessly through nothing. She's next to you, curled on the couch, reading a book with highlighter marks. There's a journal beside her with notes and goals. Later, she opens a language app and practices sentences under her breath. She doesn't tell you to stop wasting time. She never mocks your habits. But you find yourself putting your phone down anyway, not because she asked you to, but because her focus makes your comfort feel small. There's no pressure, no lectures. Just the quiet example of a woman who respects herself enough to grow, with or without you, and that alone makes you question who you've been and who you could be. True change doesn't come from being cornered. It comes when someone lights a fire inside you, not under you. A woman like her doesn't drag you out of your darkness. She lights a candle and lets it flicker. That's all it takes. You begin walking on your own, not because you're told to, but because you finally want to. And even on the days when you fall behind, when you feel lost in the maze of your own thoughts, she doesn't chase or pull. She simply remains anchored, still quietly trusting that you'll find your way, because she understands something few people do. Growth needs space, and the right kind of love never suffocates it. She gives you space, and somehow, that makes you want to come closer. A wise woman doesn't try to control you. She doesn't chase, doesn't cling, doesn't fill every silence with noise. She understands something many never do. That men, real men, need space. Not because they want to pull away, but because they need to face the quiet chaos inside their own minds. When life gets heavy, when thoughts grow tangled and words fail, you drift. Not out of anger, not out of boredom, just out of habit. And instead of panicking, instead of accusing, she simply lets you be. She doesn't send a dozen messages asking where you are. She doesn't flood you with question marks or guilt. She sends one line, just one. If you need anything, I'm here. That sentence lands deeper than any demand ever could, not because it pressures you, but because it doesn't. And as you sit alone, sorting through your thoughts, her calmness lingers. Her steadiness becomes a lighthouse. And without even realizing it, you begin to turn back. You come back, not because she pulled you, but because her stillness reminded you of everything you don't want to lose. And that's the paradox. The more freely she lets you go, the more you want to stay. The more room she gives your silence, the more you crave her voice. But the most beautiful thing is this. Her gift of space doesn't mean she disappears. She doesn't vanish. She simply steps aside without stepping away. And that difference, so subtle, so rare, is everything. Because silence is golden only when it doesn't become distance. And the woman who knows how to hold that balance is already holding something far more powerful than attention. She's holding your trust, but space alone isn't enough. What happens when emotions rise, when tension creeps in? That's when you see who she really is. When conflict comes, she chooses connection over victory. When tension rises, most people slip into instinct. We raise our voices, we try to win. Deep down, we're not fighting for truth, we're fighting not to feel small, not to feel ignored, not to feel unloved. But she doesn't play that game. She doesn't turn every disagreement into a courtroom. She doesn't collect your mistakes like ammunition. In the heat of argument, when words are sharp and pride is louder than reason, she does something that disarms everything. She becomes quiet, not in withdrawal, not in punishment, but in presence. She chooses to stay soft, even when the moment turns hard. You expect her to walk out, to raise her tone, to match your frustration. Instead, she disappears into the kitchen, fills a glass with water, and gently sets it on the table. Then she looks at you not with coldness, but with calm, and says, "We don't have to agree, and we just have to not leave." That moment is not about water. It's about peace. It's about choosing the relationship over the ego. She doesn't silence herself. She just knows when silence can speak more clearly than shouting ever will. That kind of woman makes you listen not because she demands it, but because she earns it. And slowly, the storm inside you begins to quiet. Not because you're convinced you were wrong, but because being right suddenly feels so much less important than not losing her. And the real truth sinks in. She doesn't need to win. She needs both of you to stay. And even when you disappoint her, even when you say the wrong thing or forget who you're trying to be, she doesn't walk away. She stays. Not because it's easy, but because she believes in the part of you that's still learning how to love. She believes in you, even when you can't believe in yourself. There are days when you feel small, when the world weighs heavy on your shoulders and everything you've worked for seems to slip through your hands. You question your path, your purpose, even your worth. You sit in silence, not looking for advice, just hoping someone will see that you're tired. And she does, but she doesn't flood you with speeches. She doesn't quote motivational lines or pretend to fix what's falling apart. Instead, she sits beside you, and with one look, one steady breath, she reminds you of something you almost forgot. She says it quietly, with no drama. "I know you're not stopping here." Not because she expects perfection, not because she needs you to win, but because she sees something inside you that even you struggle to find sometimes. She sees the man beneath the pressure, the one who keeps showing up, even when it's hard. She believes in the version of you that hasn't fully arrived yet. And in that belief, you find the strength to keep going. Not for her, not even for yourself, but because being seen like that without judgment, without fear, makes quitting feel like a betrayal of something sacred. She doesn't push, she reminds, and her belief in you is not loud. It's not loud because it doesn't have to be. It's in the way she watches you when you speak about something you care about. It's in how she keeps space for your process, your pace, your failures. And slowly, you begin to rise again. Not with bravado, not with ego, but with a quiet decision that you're not done yet. Because if she can still see something worth fighting for in you, then maybe, just maybe, you can too. And the truth is, any woman can admire a man once he's made it. But the rare ones, the ones you never forget, are those who saw your future before you did. And a woman with eyes like that usually carries a heart big enough to be kind. Not just to you, but to everyone she meets. She's kind to those who have nothing to offer her. You can learn more about a person by how they treat a stranger than by how they treat you. Watch her closely, not when she's with you, but when she thinks no one's watching at all. When the waiter gets the order wrong, she doesn't roll her eyes. She smiles and says thank you anyway. When the old man by the parking lot moves slowly, she doesn't honk or complain. She waits. And when a child bumps into her in the grocery store aisle, she kneels down to help, not out of duty but instinct. She doesn't do these things for praise. No, she doesn't post about them. She doesn't even mention them later. Because for her, kindness isn't a strategy. It's a reflex. This is the kind of woman whose heart is built from stillness and sincerity. The kind who remembers birthdays for people who forgot their own. Who brings tea to the receptionist. Who thanks the janitor by name. And it's not just a moment. It's a pattern. One small act at a time. Repeated again and again until you realize this isn't a performance, it's who she really is. She treats people with dignity, even when the world gives her every excuse not to. Not because she has to, but because she doesn't know how not to. And that kind of woman teaches you something. She makes you realize that character is not what we show to the world. It's what we offer to those who have nothing to give us in return, and then it hits you. If she can be that gentle with strangers, what would she be like with your broken parts, the ones no one else has seen? Because her kindness doesn't stop where the world ends. It goes deeper. She's kind even to the darkest parts of you. She knows where you've broken and never uses it to hurt you. There was a night when you told her everything, not the edited version. Not the story with the clean ending, the truth. You spoke of the time you failed, the person you lost, the fear that still grips you when the lights go out. You told her where it hurt, not because you were looking for sympathy, but because, for once, you wanted to be seen without the armor. And she listened, fully. Quietly, without interruption, without judgment. But what matters most is what she did later. Not in that moment, but in the days and weeks and months that followed. Because there came a time when you disappointed her, when you said the wrong thing, when your ego showed up louder than your love. And even then, even in the heat of anger, she never reached for your past to prove her point. She never brought up what you shared in your weakest hour. She never used your pain as a weapon. A trustworthy woman is not the one who listens. It's the one who guards what she hears. Even when she's hurt. even when she has the power to cut deep. She holds your secrets like sacred ground, not because you asked her to, but because that's who she is. And the most powerful moment comes quietly, after a rough day, after you've said too little or maybe too much. She doesn't punish you with silence or sarcasm. She wraps her arms around you, and in that embrace, she's telling you without words, I know who you are. I know what you carry, and I still choose you. She doesn't need you to be unbreakable. She just needs you to be real. And somehow you feel safer with her than you ever felt pretending to be strong. Which leaves you wondering, how can a woman so deep, so intuitive, so strong still be so effortlessly feminine? She makes you feel like a man without making herself any smaller. She's strong, not in a loud, overbearing way, but in a calm, grounded presence that doesn't need to compete. She has her own goals, her own voice, her own life, and yet, when she's with you, she doesn't try to prove anything. She doesn't try to lead the room or shrink to fit inside she stands beside you, not behind, not ahead, just there. She doesn't challenge your masculinity to feel powerful. She enhances it by letting you feel safe being fully yourself. You don't have to puff your chest or be the loudest in the room. Around her, you don't feel like you're being tested. You feel like you're being trusted. She makes space for your strength, not by stepping aside, but by standing in her own. And the balance is beautiful. You lead when it's time. She leads when it's needed. But most of the time, you walk side by side, hand in hand, neither dragging, neither chasing. You begin to realize that the right kind of woman doesn't demand submission or superiority. She just wants connection. And in her presence, you don't feel smaller. You feel bigger not in ego, but in purpose. She brings out the version of you that listens more, thinks deeper, moves wiser, not because she asks you to, but because she brings clarity simply by being who she is. And it makes you pause. If you found a woman like that, one who carries herself with grace, gives you room to lead, and never asks you to shrink, then here's the question you need to ask yourself. Are you loving her with the same depth she brings to you? Because a woman like that won't ask you to chase her, but she also won't wait forever. If you've met her, don't let her become what you learn to live without. The room is quiet now. Expensive furniture, soft lighting, a career displayed across shelves and walls, but none of it matters, not really. Because the man sitting in the center of it all, he isn't smiling. His eyes are open, but they're somewhere else. He's thinking of her. Not because she was perfect. Not because everything was easy. But because and when she loved him, she made life feel whole in a way that no success ever could. He says it softly. I thought I needed more time. But time doesn't wait for men who hesitate, especially not for the kind of woman who's ready to walk with you through it all. And now, he doesn't miss her in loud ways. He misses her in the silence, in the way no one looks at him like she did, in the way his victories feel quieter without her applause. Real love is rarely loud. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply shows up day after day, offering you a place to rest, to grow, to be seen. But if you don't recognize it while it's there, you'll spend years trying to quiet the echo it leaves behind. So if you've met her, the one who makes you want to become more, who gives you space without letting you drift, who holds your pain without throwing it back at you, then ask yourself something honest. In all the noise of life, are you listening to what she's been trying to show you? Because one day you may look around and realize you had everything that mattered and let it slip through your hands. And if that day ever comes, the only voice you'll hear is your own. whispering the question too late. Which of these signs made you realize she was the one you should have never lost?